Dr. Erwin Redlenner is the founding director of the National Center for Disaster Preparedness and senior research scholar.
Dr. Doom.
Hi, good morning, Dr. Doom.
Well, good morning, Stephanie, and all your crew.
Now, you're going to only be the second most illustrious name at Columbia University now, as Hillary Clinton has just joined.
Listen, I knew I was going to take a dive one of these days. And, if it's somebody like Hillary that displaces me, what the hell? I accept it.
There you go. By the way, can I say, I love when you join forces with another superhero of the Stephanie Miller cinematic universe. In this case, Paula Poundstone tweeted you and said, "Dear Dr. Redlenner, if one hasn't gotten all the COVID shots, should they start at the beginning or just get the bivalent? Also, if it's been a couple of months since one got the bivalent, should they get it again?" And you replied, "So the bivalent vaccine is clearly the booster we should be getting, although it hasn't really been tested as a vaccine to use initially. In other words, for people with no vaccine yet, get the original mRNA formula initially, but bivalence for the booster." Yay.
Correct.
Thank you for that.
That's it. Pretty simple. Pretty simple. I've been thinking a lot about the COVID situation in this following way, Stephanie, because, we're still having between 400 and 500 deaths a day. And the Department of Health and Human Services just declined to remove COVID from the public health emergency list. And the good thing about that is, one, it brings attention to us about COVID. And secondly, it allows people to get the vaccine and the testing and everything free from the government as long as COVID is still declared a public health emergency.
Yeah.
But the thing that strikes me is that I'm not sure that for X millions of Americans, any of us are going to talk people that haven't into getting a COVID shot. So I would like to make a different kind of plea, if I might. And that plea is, if you're not worried about yourself, I'm sorry to hear that. But why don't we have a national campaign that we're trying to protect our vulnerable people that live among us, our grandmas and grandpas, our babies, our people with chronic diseases or immune suppressed diseases. If that's the motivation, it's to me, I don't mean to be overly optimistic or Pollyannish. I don't like that word Pollyannish, but
it's not something we associate with Dr. Doom. But yes, go ahead.
Yeah. We're not usually Pollyannish, but the thing is that if we focused on protecting others, do you think that would make any kind of difference in people getting motivated? Yeah, okay, I don't believe it, but I do want to protect my mom.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether we've presented that enough as the case to be made for getting vaccinated.
Yeah. Well, I know. I mean, in my case, I'm flying for my mom's 100th birthday this Sunday, so yeah, I try to be extra cautious. But, somebody tweeted, they said, if I see a person in an indoor setting wearing a mask, I think automatically that person is A, intelligent, and B, considerate of others, and I just, it is sort of depressing that it seems like the vast majority of Americans just aren't, it feels like you need an excuse to be safe and or considerate of others.
It's very geographical, and I don't know what it's like there in LA where you are, but in New York City, we're seeing more and more people. This is anecdotal, but more and more people wearing masks in public places, even outside, which I find very interesting. And I guess, you say something like, 500 people are going to die today and another 500 tomorrow from this disease. It's hard to imagine how that doesn't resonate with somebody. You got to be pretty impervious to reality to not get vaccinated with these kind of numbers that are still rolling around there. Plus, the XBB variant is increasingly prevalent. That's extremely contagious, and we ought to be doing the right thing here, but too many of us are not.
Well, and also, Doc, we talk about this every week, but, this week's is Lisa Marie Presley's death. That, the anti-vaxxers have swarmed around. And, that one, she was only 54. She obviously has a family history of heart disease and substance abuse, which she was open about. And that's really sad. I was reading a story about, she was just at Graceland, to support her father's for his, the birthday
Yeah,
celebration there, and she
yeah,
actually pointed out to the person she was with where she was going to be buried, and he said, "Oh, a long time from now," and she said, "Yeah, a long time. I have a lot left to do." And I thought, like, here's this family going through tragedy again, and you've got all these nonsense anti-vaxxers
yeah.
causing even more grief by saying, oh, it was the vaccine, when clearly it was not the vaccine. Whether it's a Buffalo Bills player or any celebrity that is injured or dies of anything, we just get a swarm of this anti-vaxxer stupidity again.
Yeah. This is like this is the anti-vaxxers exploiting tragedy to make a point that is wallowing in ignorance. I'm really stupid. So I'm glad to hear about this celebrity going down because now I'm just going to blame it on the COVID vaccine. And again, just in case you missed it, I'm very, very stupid. This is what the statement is
Yeah.
that people are making. It's anti-science. It's anti-reality. But I heard you talking about George Santos earlier. We There's no amount of BS of insanity that seems to get the reprobation of the public. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
You got like a handful of liberals saying this is insane that this guy's in Congress or that people don't get
Yeah.
vaccinated.
But
And
you get a wall
we're
of
talking to
lies
walls,
from
man,
you get a wall of lies from Kevin McCarthy every day, whether it's
every day.
about Eric Swalwell or Adam
Yeah.
Schiff, or you get and the fact that these people are going to be grilling Dr. Fauci and investigating
It's insane.
it's just, unfortunately, we're in for another wave, aren't we, of stupid, as
We
you
are,
say.
we are,
Yeah.
and we have no idea what the next variants are going to be or what their behavior is going to be like. But I wonder if you could do me a favor. I would like to know if George Santos is vaccinated. Could you
Yes.
seriously? I would like, because as a role model for Americans, it would be important to know, for better or worse, whatever he is. Could one of you guys call him up and?
Oh, my
Yeah, he
God.
won't tell us the truth though.
Look at all these.
He'll lie to us.
Look at all these Republican governors, Huckabee, Sarah Huckabee Sanders now, and, Ron DeSantis, like, just proudly trumpeting their ignorance with these COVID,
Yeah, yeah,
COVID,
yeah.
non-COVID regulations, I guess, right?
yeah. But I don't know. I'm feeling pretty frustrated about the whole thing, which is
Yeah.
why maybe some new communication messages about protecting our neighbors, our friends, and our loved ones more emphasized than protecting yourself might strike a different chord. I have no idea. This is we're grasping at straws.
I wish I could. I could say I'm hopeful about that too, but Doc, we were just saying too. That seems to be the other thing that Trump has unleashed is just people wanting to just be holes all the time for no reason, just for the sake of it, just to own the libs, whatever it is in their head, right? It seems like
Exactly.
it's, yeah.
Well, I don't think we're going to recover from Trump in the foreseeable future here.
No.
Yeah, and
He
now
is, he is,
I'm just looking.
he's
Trump is
poisoned
reportedly
the
plotting
country.
his return to Twitter and Facebook, right? I mean, it's just
Yeah,
we're going to
yeah,
battle
yeah,
all this
yeah.
disinformation
And
again.
all his disciples are out there stronger than ever. Even if they say they wouldn't necessarily support him for president, they've adopted every iota of his personality, his perspective, his ability to lie, and to ignore truth. So there we go. He's created a monster.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a while before we can deal with that.
Yeah. Well, we keep fighting the good fight every day. You
We're cursed, yeah.
retweeted one of our PhD friends who said, "No justice. The city of Flint is under federal court order to remove lead pipes, but still won't. Criminal manslaughter charges against Flint officials for their role in the mass poisoning were dropped. Like in Jackson, Mississippi, majority black and brown populations are left suffering." And you just said this is an inexcusable travesty that has been, still is, harming children. Where are all the activists, including pediatricians, social activists, and politicians in Flint who years ago were committed to protecting these children? Just shameful.
Yeah. I was there. I was there a number of times when at the height of the crisis. I really thought this was something that was going to get people's attention. People would be held accountable, and they'd fix the damn problem. But of course, that hasn't happened. And it's just hard to compute what it is from keeping us doing the right thing. There's examples of this all over the place. After Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico in 2017, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers promised they were going to rebuild the electrical system, the electrical grid in Puerto Rico, burying the cables and microgrids, et cetera. Not one of those things happened. They rebuilt the electrical system the same crappy way that it had been before. Yep. Then they had another hurricane last year, and it went down again. I mean, it's like the inability to learn from science and learn from experience is absolutely stunning.
I mean, they're too busy. Yeah. Republicans are too busy trying to protect your children from non-existent threats, like drag queens and, a critical race theory and being too woke or whatever these ridiculous,
Antifa.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe the next generation will do a better job than I feel like my generation is doing. Well, the next generation is you, and you're doing plenty. But it's very frustrating, and it's very disappointing, actually, in the country. And I think we're going to need, I don't know what kind of leadership it's going to take. Wow. But I was just asking the guys here what they thought about Gavin.
Gavin Newsom is incredibly charming, unbelievably charming. Yeah. We've experienced it in person.
We have.
Yeah.
He's been in studio with us.
Blinding.
Yes.
No, but you're speaking of which, you're a pediatrician. Pediatricians have spoken out for years about sensible gun laws. Well, now we're at a place where a 6-year-old deliberately shot his teacher. I mean, and yet we just seem no closer to sensible gun legislation, do we?
No, and there was a record number of guns confiscated in carry-on baggage last year.
Yeah.
Like 40,000 people tried to smuggle handguns in their carry-on. And it's really, we're going backwards when it comes to the gun issues. And it's just a shame. It's a whack-a-mole world that we live in. And, you think you're getting control over one issue or something so terrible happens that people are compelled to deal with it, and then they don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, anyway, we're
and also, you've been trying to help in Ukraine, and, this senseless terrorist, I don't even know, terrorist attack against Ukraine just continues against, civilian targets.
That helicopter into the kindergarten. Oh, my God.
Yeah. And we have, again, one party here in the United States that if they had anything to do with it, would cut off aid entirely to Ukraine.
Yeah. So we're going back there, Karen and I, on the 31st of this month for a couple of weeks. And we've got a lot of programs started there. We spent $600,000 in money that people have given us in 2022, and incredible numbers of generators and all kinds of things that
might be a big donor. Answer that.
Yeah. Hello? No, we're not here.
No! That could have been George Soros. What's wrong with you?
It was Bill Gates. I forgot to look at the...
You hung up.
Dang it.
Okay, if you're not watching how Dr. Redlenner's a big deal. A lot of big deal people.
Right.
He probably just hung up on as a bit on our show. Do you know he... Okay, Dr. Redlenner.
Dr. Redlenner does prop humor.
We're going to let you go and go see. Look at your caller ID.
It
was George Santos. The GoFundMe cleared.
Yeah. By the way,
I was going to say, you must not be following the Santos playbook. I mean, you taking the money that people gave you and giving it to the actual cause you said it was for?
Yeah.
What's that about?
It's shocking, isn't it? By the way, we had dinner with Malcolm and his girlfriend the other day.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, Malcolm's girlfriend.
In a great restaurant.
Wait a minute.
I'm sure that was public.
Terrible.
Not sure that is.
Yeah.
Oh, the very chatty Dr. Redlenner. Yeah. All right, love you, Dr. Redlenner.
Thanks, Doc.
And by the way, Stephanie, one last thing.
Yes.
Karen actually answered that phone call.
Okay.
I don't want your listeners to think that I wouldn't take
Mrs.
a phone
Doom.
call. But I would.
Do they just doom residents? Yeah. All right. Love you. Bye.
Thanks, Doc.
Thanks, Doc.
Bye, guys.
Wow. That's a lot. He hung up on Bill Gates and
that was funny.
Outed Malcolm Nance's girlfriend.
Know.
Wow.
Whoa.
We didn't know he had a girlfriend.
Well, we did, but
I didn't know that.
I think we were
Did I know
told
that?
not to
Did I
say
know that?
anything.
You know what we should do is not say anything more about this.
Wow. Dr. Redletter. It's the Gladys Kravitz of the Stephanie Miller Show. Okay, 21 minutes after the hour. He's still there laughing. This portion of the show brought to you by Matt and Crates. Jen Kirkman, hi.
You know how